Hello, 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 and welcome back to Unspoken. Unspoken, the place where mothers and daughters come to nurture their relationships. And you might say, well, how are they going to do that, Dr. Bessie? The word unspoken means exactly what it says. It's unspoken. It's something that you're keeping, either good or bad. Sometimes we have amazing compliments for our mothers or daughters, but we just feel bad. We don't want to say it. It's just like, why not? I don't want to just tell her, you know, that she looks good, that she's pretty, or I don't want to a compliment, a smile, a hug, or the major bonding techniques that will keep you together, that will remind you that you love each other. Last week, I think it was, we were talking, and the young lady said, not last week, it might have been a couple of weeks ago, that, well, I don't have anything, really bad about my relationship with my mother. My mother and I had a very good relationship. And I was telling her, I said, yeah, that's good because we're not looking for bad. We're looking for the opportunity to reach good. And if you have a relationship and it's just outstanding and you know that you have a recipe that's been passed down for years, then that's what we want to hear too as well. Because we can't always talk about what we don't have. We have to talk about what we have. And that's how we bless. Those testimonies are equally as important. Now, there's a mother, daughter, and a granddaughter that I was going to bring as our guest today. But I thought it was so precious that I wanted to make sure that we aligned it in a way that you would get the benefit from it because it's one of those stories. And as we went backward into from the daughter to her mother and then to her grandmother, it showed the pattern that God has us based our ministry on. Our ministry is Mother and Daughter Faith Trust Ministries. We've been a ministry for years and years and years, but it keep growing and evolving into something different according to, God's plans, not mine. I tried to do it my way, but it just didn't work. So now I just every day just get up and say, okay, what is it that you want me to do today? What's the plan? This morning, Holy Spirit, what do you want us to talk about? Even yesterday, I have to do it a little different now. When we were doing it before, I just get up in the morning and say, Holy Spirit, what do you want to talk about today? And he'll give me a topic. And I said, I release myself to you as I do on this show as well. I release myself to the Holy Spirit. What is it that you know who's going to be on here? Who do you want to talk to? Use this body to do your work. And when we do that, it takes a lot of pressure off of us and a lot of stress. And I had to grow into that because, in the beginning, I was still whining a little bit. I was on, but I was whining about, I didn't really want to do it. And I just went to God and said, God, forgive me. That was just like a little kid having a tantrum. And no matter how old we get, we have those moments. Come on now, don't act like you don't have them. We have these moments when we feel like a child, a little girl, because we are a child to God. We still that little girl, that little 3-year-old girl that's saying, oh, I don't want to do it. God, can I not do that? Or I want to do this, God. You see, that's why he said, unless you be like a child, because if you're like a child is innocent. So when I was talking to them, I said, let me pray on it and see what God says. And God said, no, this is the prime example that I want to see because it comes back to the basis of, like I said, the foundation of our ministry. And that is Ezekiel 16:44, where God said, as is the mother, so is her daughter. And sometimes, you might say, well, I'm nothing like my mother. How many times have I heard that? As a Christian clinical psychologist, when I have a client, the first thing, an older mother, as opposed to, and I don't want to say older, let's just say you're talking about a mother between 50 and 60, as opposed to a mother that's between 25 and 35 or 40. their perspectives are different. The 25-year-old will say, I don't want to be like my mother. And then the 50 or 60-year-old, I'm still trying not to be like my mother, although they realize they are turning into characteristics that's very similar to their mother. We can never turn into another human being because God made us all unique. But if you are reared by someone and you are constantly in their presence, as a little baby, let's say a little person, a little girl that's 2 years old, and she's watching you, she can't do anything of her own, basically, but she's watching you as a mother. And you got 86,400 seconds in a day. Can you imagine? She's just like a little camera, like a little eyes that click, 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 click. Because what she's doing is recording. And all that information going to the subconscious mind, which is housed there throughout life, throughout eternity. So we do pick up on certain things. At my age now, I see a lot of my mother. I see things that even just eating, chewing, picking up something, walking, or sitting, and I'll catch myself saying, wow, that's a pearl thing. You know what I mean? It just, we are reminded, especially when our mothers are not with us. When you have your mother, sometimes you may not pay attention to it as much. But when your mother has transcended, and then you have those days and you miss them, and you have that little thought where you want to laugh about something, or you want to just cry because you really miss them so badly, but you kind of work yourself out of that because you know what? She's in the spiritual realm. I can just talk to her spiritually. That's another show in itself. But all I'm saying is we have this combination. And so I want to bring them on, and they want to tell their story because I guarantee you, I haven't spoken to her grandmother, but I guarantee you her grandmother is going to take us into her mother and her grandmother. So we're going to go 6 generations deep in this conversation. And I'll keep you abreast on that because this is exciting to see that movement. I could sit here all day and tell you about the relationship I had with my mother, but I'm an only child. There was a lot of things to measure because when you have siblings, you got to look at a mother juggling the personalities of both children, 2 or 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 children. I've got some people that I know, parents have had up to 10 children. In fact, I back that up. There's a lady that I know, it's a family member. She had 21 children. She had 3 or 4 different sets of twins. And so with that, you're thinking, what is that generation like right now? Can you imagine 21 children and all of them having children of their own? I just said the family tree would just be off the page. So unspoken today, we are talking about a subject matter, a question, and I have my co-host Dr. Oliver with me, and this is going to be right up her alley as far as what we teach when we're teaching either at our university. We have a mother and daughter bonding university, and we can where you can get all levels of degrees all the way up to the PhD, and we'll talk about a little bit of that. I'll show you some a little clip that will bring you abreast because each week we have different people checking it out. Now I don't want to miss that because it's vital to a lot of people that's trying to start where they stop and continue their education. So today the question was, and I went back and looked at it, trying to decide how do we unpack this. This is a young lady, not too young. She's in her late 40s. Is saying she has been the mother. She has been the mother in her mother and daughter relationship. We see that so much, and you hear Dr. O and I talk about that. She has been the mother. And I've known people not have children because they were the mother of their siblings. But in her case, she said, I'm the mother of my mother. I'm mothering my mother. So sit back and relax, and then we're going to come back and talk about that. I'll be right back.
As is the mother, so is her daughter. A strong mother and daughter relationship has a powerful impact on the family and the community. It is one of the most robust bonds there is, and yet it is also one of the most delicate. This is a relationship that must be given the utmost care. Mother and Daughter Bonding Network believes there is no substitute for a healthy bond of love between a mother and her daughter. It is our mission to develop this strong bond of love and remove the elements that weaken the mother and daughter relationship. Through support and counseling, we provide education, resources, and spiritual wisdom to mother and daughter communities on the premise of love and in the mindset that an educated mother is a highly effective role model and an inspiration for her daughter to complete her education. Mother and Daughter Bonding Network provides a safe and supportive place where mothers and daughters can forgive, reconnect, revive, and strengthen their bond through a process of continuous healing. We engage the mothers and daughters to bravely face and resolve the ups and downs in their relationships. We connect and empower mothers and daughters so that the process of transforming conflicted or troubled relationships into positive and healthy ones goes across generations and creates better and sustainable communities. Connect with us today at our website www.matriarchnow.com and change the mother-daughter relationship for the better for today, tomorrow, and all days to come.
All right. That's the message. Mothers and daughters, if you only knew the power and the authority that you have within your family, if you really just knew, mother, that how much power you have. Some of you do, but some of you don't realize because of the stress and all the things around you, and that whatever you say affects your family. How you act, the energy molds the mind and the temperament of the child. So, like I said, I've been doing this now 25 and a half years, and I will not just cut off one day because it has been a journey. I have seen and heard and have worked closely with mothers and daughters, and I feel their pain even to this day. I have women calling me. Sometimes they just want to ask a question, and that's okay too. You don't have to call and say, "I want an account. I want a counseling session." It's better if you want to resolve an issue. But in the meantime, you could just call us and I can talk to you to see what it is and see if it's a quick fix or a suggestion. My job is to help you to have the best mother and daughter relationship. That's what my calling is. That's my anointing. And when you do that, God takes care of all the rest. My job is to be there when someone calls. And this past week was one of those weeks. I'm telling you, it really was a week when I'm up at 2 o'clock trying to help somebody. This is not a fluff luxury position. It is the heart of the matter of a mother and her daughter. My daughter's missing, Dr. Bessie. So you got to cry with them. And you know, a lot of times you're going to see me cry on here, and I'm not ashamed of that because I cry with them when they cry because I have feelings too. And I'm just like, God, how do we gonna fix this? You know, how do we fix this? So I get emotional too. And it's a part of it because I don't want anybody to think that I have it all together, that I have all the answers and, oh, I'm just living my best mother and daughter relationship. I have a working mother and daughter relationship and it's in process, you know, and you have to look at it like that every day. Get up, new day, you know, new relationship. What do we do today? And so for the mother that sent us this question, and I went in some detail with it. Some people don't want to be known, they don't want to say it, and that's okay, because she's going to hear what Dr. O and I say. And if anybody wants to comment on it, we may have some people drop in as a guest with us today. And then we're just going to break it down and see how we can give some suggestions. Let's bring in Dr. O. Good
Good
morning.
morning, audience. Good morning again, Dr. Fletcher. Good to be
How-
here.
All right. How are you doing today?
Man, I ain't making no noise. All is well.
Good.
Thank God I'm here.
Don't make no noise. Now, that's one of them old sayings. I ain't making no noise. Sounds like one of them
Absolutely.
people. That sounds like one of them people out there, how them drunks. You say, how you doing? Oh, I ain't making no noise, but we know that's not your case. But I'm not making any noise. All right.
Yeah,
That's good. That's good. Did you have a good week last week?
I did. I had a productive week. I had a trying week. I was exhausted last week. Just juggling everything between the Bible college and working a job, which I thought we'd been delivered from a job by now. But hey, God got other plans. So I'm just going with the flow and working around his plan.
Oh
And
man.
like I told you on yesterday, everything I do, I work around the ministry. That my job don't dictate what I do, because if I can't do the ministry with the job, I won't take the job. So all is well. All is well. Had a challenging week, but it was a good week. Thanks for asking. How was yours?
My week was good. It was busy. It was busy. I just had something kind of just flew right across my face there. I was like, what's that? But anyway, my week was good. It was busy.
Good. Good.
Trying to teach classes, I don't really like to teach, but you all are the professors, and I'm more of the
You're an adjunct at this point.
yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I can be that. I can be
Yeah,
that.
you're an
But
adjunct at this
I
point.
just fit
You
in
fill
wherever I
in when
can
you
get in.
need it. When you
Yeah,
need you get in when you need it.
and to be able to teach classes now, I'm saying that, and I've been teaching what since we started,
Yes,
because I do
ma'am.
teach the mic class, and I was teaching all the biblical study classes, but this PhD class is a whole different level.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to thank all the people that are calling in and asking about it, writing in, and we've had so many students to sign up this week. It's absolutely amazing. We see God's hands moving. For a while it was still, but it started moving in God's hands. So here we go. But back to
Happens when it
our subject.
happens, darling.
Yeah, happens when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Everything is in God's timing.
Yeah.
So our subject today, Dr. O, is I was the mother. Well, the way that we have it, the way that she brought it to me, I was the nurturer and she was the need. That's
I
what
like that.
I was the nurturer and she was the need. And at first I had to kind of think about it because, you know, sometimes we do marry our sons. I have mothers come to me, daughter-in-laws come to me. Let me just put it from that perspective. And that daughter-in-law says things like, you know, my husband is her husband. She lost her husband. Now she's thinking that my husband is her husband. And so I kind of got a balance of that, and listen to this young lady saying that, you know, I can't really be a mother to my children like I want to because I've always mothered my mother. She's so needy. She's
Mhm.
always dependent on me to do things, even the things that she can do for herself. She's dependent on me. So what we want to do today is look at what advice can we give her, as far as being able to build that relationship. Now, what I'm going to say is this: on my part of it is, it goes back to your mother's mother. Now, she may have been abandoned in some way. And I told her it's going to take a conversation. It's going to take a session where we can sit down and really unpack some of the things that her mother went through. Why is she feeling that it's like a fear of abandonment? If I know that you are here and I know that you are doing something for me, I feel connected. I feel alive. I feel like you have not abandoned me. And when you have your own children and your own family, That's most of your time. If you have a job and you have children, you have a husband, or even just a friend dating, what time do you have for yourself? Now, I understand when your mother is older and there are certain needs you're going to give back. And I believe that you should give back. And the reason that you should give back because she gave to you. But what she's telling me is that my mother is able. She can drive, she can go and she can do, but you're like, can you just stop by and pick something up? And then while you're doing that, let's just sit around. I got to go home and cook for the kids. Oh, you don't love me. I might not be here next year. And what you gonna do when I'm gone? You know, the guilt trip. What do you say on that? Jump in there on that.
Well, two things. One is that's codependency 101.
Mm-hmm.
And what does codependency 101 means? Meaning that when someone can do for themselves and you choose to continue to do what you know she could do for herself, that means that you have become part of the problem.
Mm.
And you are part of the problem in the sense that you have no boundaries. You
Mm-hmm.
have not set boundaries, and therefore you are her everything. And because you are her everything, she depends on you for everything. And so the only person who can change that, unfortunately or fortunately, is you. Because when a person can do for themselves and you choose to do everything for them out of guilt and making sure that she's good, because if she good, then I'm good. If she ain't good, then I feel some kind of way about it. Then, it's just codependency around the world, around the clock, if you will. And so, if you want to see something different in your relationship, as far as you're nurturing her, you're going to have to do something different. And it starts with creating boundaries. No, mom, I will not do that. You can drive, get in the car, and go and get it for yourself, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes that's hard because you remember, I don't know, the audience, we have a new audience based on some of the things of changing the platforms for this podcast. But I've said over the years, sometimes you are a yes daughter. I didn't realize. I was talking to Les Brown, and Les said to me, what's your story? And I got really kind of perturbed with him because he kept asking me over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, Les, I don't have a story. And yes, you do have a story. So, long story short, and he said, well, just tell me about your mother and daughter relationship. You're doing mother and daughter. What is your mother and daughter relationship? And I told him, I said, well, we had a great relationship. I had no problem with my mother. And then I said, well, except this one time when I said I was going to get a divorce, and my mother said, oh, no, you're not. And I said, yes, mother, I made the decision, and that's what I'm going to do. And I said, that's the first time I said no to my mother. And I was 48 years old. And Les said, that's your story. He had to get that story. That's your story. I said, how's that my story? Because it's easy when you're a yes daughter. It's easy to say yes, ma'am, and go along with the
Yes.
program. It's easy. But when you say no, the challenge comes. And when I said no to my mother just went like, oh, no, you didn't. She said, you will not destroy my perfect family. And that's when I knew, oh my God, what world are we living in? Because I believe at that time she was so engrossed in
Yes.
my successes, and it gave her talking points, but it also gave her that pride that even though I didn't get to do the things I wanted to,
Yes.
I made sure my daughter had all of those availabilities, and I appreciate all of that. But I did not know that I was a yes daughter. Now I may have some friends on here that's watching right now and say, "We know you was a yes daughter," because I didn't take those chances that they did. I wouldn't sneak out at night, or I wouldn't,
I'm
go
not
and do
sure
something that my
if
mom.
there's anything you can do, but you're in and out now.
Okay, I did. Can you hear
You're
me
coming
now?
in and out with your voice. I'm not sure you can adjust on your end.
Okay, I don't know what it is. Can you hear me? Is it okay now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I
So
can hear you
anyway,
okay now.
Okay, so anyway, I had to process that, and working with mothers and daughters, I share my story. I share the story of how I actually related to my mother, and how when you realize, and I had to make the adjustment. It was not easy. She was upset with me, and she showed that emotion for a couple of years, and to finally she just, I guess, figure, well, I might as well let it go. So this young lady, I'm saying to her, you, like you said, say no. When you say no, that's going to open up a whole nother avenue in order to have a conversation about what you really want and what you like and don't like. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the audience the definition of codependency, so they'll have a reference point. So, codependency is a relationship dynamic where one person enables another person's self destructive behavior. Oftentimes, people look at this as a person enabling people to not be accountable for their behavior. And so often, another person will sacrifice their needs, their own needs and well-being in the process. It's not a so in other words, when a person is determined to do everything for a person that they can do for themselves, they're enabling them to stay in a place where they're not responsible for their own lives. And so when in these dynamics with mothers and daughters, if you've been parentified, and that's another term that the audience need to understand. Parentification is where the so oftentimes the oldest sibling, or if you're an only child, the oldest sibling is responsible not only for meeting the mother needs, nurturing the mother, but also if they have siblings, the siblings. So by the time they become adults, they don't even want children because they have not had a childhood. And so they've been identified because they've been meeting them, not only their mother physical needs, but her emotional needs. And so it gets to a point where I can't do this anymore. And therefore, a lot of young girls, the first chance they get out the house, they leave the house between the ages of 16 of 16 because I'm tired. And a lot of cases also, it causes that person who's taking care of the mother and the children. A lot of times they have resentment not only towards the mother, but they have resentments towards their siblings because they've had to take care of them their entire lives. Does
Right.
that make sense to the
Yeah,
conversation?
yeah, it does. And then that brings us back to a point that I wanted to bring up, that it's that mental piece. And I want to talk to that right now, to mothers and daughters, and especially the young lady that sent in the question, the statement, how do I get past this? This is a battle, a mental battle that you're having within your own mind. See, you have created a vision. I tell my clients that you have control over your intra conversations. You may not be able to stop them, but you have control over them. You can change them over a period of time. And now, what is the intra conversation? The intra conversation are those ongoing conversations in your head. And there's a mental piece there. There's a piece where you have to deal with your inner thoughts. Some things you don't even want to tell anybody, but you're dealing with them. How do I deal with them by myself? You go to the Holy Spirit. See, that's the one you want to tell all your secrets to. God gave you a spirit, His spirit, Holy Spirit. Some things you can't even share with your best friend, because those intro conversations come out of words. And what I created was a slogan said, your words create your thoughts, and your thoughts create your visions, and your visions will manifest into your realities. And if you don't like where you are, simply change what you say. Because God said, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so whatever you say, you give life a death through the word that you've said and the intent of the word, because there's energy around that word. So while you are there just battling within yourself, you don't want to tell your friends, you're not talking to anybody, and you says, I don't want anybody to know who I am, and that's okay too. But I want you to just be honest with yourself. I want you to forgive yourself. I want you to understand that you have the power and authority to change the conversation in your head. Everything that's negative, you reverse it with something positive. Stop saying she's getting on my nerves. Stop saying that I don't want to do it. Because the more you say it, the more you enforce that energy, the more the conversations come, the more the conversations are coming, and they're coming from a negative perspective. But if you could just get a smile on your face and you could say, you know what? She's my mother. I would not be here without her. And think of some of the times when you all laughed, when you had these wonderful times together. Go back to those moments. Focus on the good things and watch and see how your energy shift, and you're going to see your mother from a different light. But I also suggest that you and your mother have a conversation, and you have to be honest with her. Even though you're taking a big gamble, you might have to go through a rough patch for a moment, depends on how she received that information, but you have to do it. Because if you think about it, what you're going through, the mental anguish that you're dealing with you think within your own body and your mind, that conscious mind is really dictating that body, and everything is being recorded into the subconscious mind. But guess what? Your children, your husband are being affected by that. One minute they're talking to you, and then you get snappy and you snap, and you don't know why you're snapping, because you are dealing with an intro conversation. They don't even know what you're talking about. They don't even know what's going on in your head, but they get the reaction of your negativity, and you snap at them, and the later say, oh, I'm sorry, mama didn't mean to holler at you, I was just going through something. They don't understand that. You're going to have to work out your own salvation. That's what God meant. Work out your own salvation. You're going to have to talk yourself out of it. We can talk ourselves into situations, and we can talk ourselves out. It's all a matter of changing the words. You change the words have power. And when you say good words, you said, I'm a good daughter. I love my mother. My mother loved me. Don't look at it as dependent. She doesn't know any better. She doesn't have something that she needs. And you need to find out what is it that you need. And then work out, like Dr. O was saying earlier, work out these boundaries. Say, okay, mom, this is what I can do. On Tuesdays, this is my day. I have some free time. The kids are gone. Figure out a time. And then just have a date with her. So on Tuesday, every Tuesday, around 5:30, 6 o'clock when I get off from work, I'm going to come over. We're going to visit, or I'm going to take you wherever you need to go. That's going to cut down on that constant calling, because see, she don't know where you are, when you can help her, when you're not. But if she knows that she has a specific time with you, it's like a date. This is our time. It's between me and you. I guarantee you, you'll have less calls, because see, she don't have to try to wonder when she can jump in. It's like playing double dutch, the double dutch, and you the rope going, and you don't know when to jump in. She don't know when to jump in, so she just jumping whatever she can. But if you fix that timing and you say, this is our time, she won't have to worry about if my daughter's going to call me this week, or will we have an opportunity to sit down and talk? Will I have a time to tell her about my medication, or that I need to do something, or that I went somewhere with my friends? I know on Tuesday, my daughter and I have a date, and that's going to help you mentally, and that's going to help her mentally. But when you're on this date, don't have your phones, don't have conversations about other people, just have conversations about your relationship. Let her know how much you appreciate her. Let her know how much you love her, because she's reaching out for a lack of love. And I guarantee you, you'll have a better relationship. Dr. O?
Yeah, I just wanted to read how to set a healthy boundary. So, because sometimes people don't do things because they don't know how to do things. So,
Mhm.
setting healthy boundaries with parents involve establishing clear expectation and limits in a relationship. And so, what we need to understand, audience, is that when you're setting healthy boundaries, you need to identify what's important to you. You got to know your limit. You got to be proactive, not reactive when your mother calls. You got to communicate clearly and respectfully. Choose the right time and place, like you said. Set the time when you can get with her and stick with that. You got to be consistent in what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Use I statements when you talk about how you feel about having parent her all these years of being her emotional support. You got to be direct and specific. You got to be firm, and but above all things, you got to be respectful and be prepared for resistance, because she will resist, because you've been doing it all this time. And so
Yes.
it's going to be challenging that to change the dynamics of the relationship, because that you've been doing it for so long. Change can be difficult, but it can happen. Be patient and understanding, negotiate and compromise when necessary. Be prepared to stand your ground. If I can't tell you nothing more important than that, stand your ground. If you say no, that's why scripture tells us, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Then you not have to go back and forth in your mind, as Dr. Fletcher said, about you saying no, because you've set the precedence. Mom, I can't do it, period. This is when we can do it. And that's when you do it. But if you tell her you're going to do something, by
Mm-hmm.
all means, follow through with what you say you're going to do, because then she can't trust you to be there when you say you're going to be there. And one of my biggest pet peeves, Dr. Fletcher, if you tell me you're going to do something, and this is why this is what I love about our ministry. We never have to worry about we ain't gonna be there if we told you we're gonna be there.
Right.
We make it happen. No matter what. If the world ain't spinning out of control, we're going to be there. You got to implement these boundaries in stages, however, because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be resistance at first, but it can change if you are the person who's in control. So it
Mm-hmm.
appears, because you've been the nurturer all these years, you're going to have to set these boundaries, and you're going to have to follow through on these boundaries. And that's taking a therapeutic perspective of the situation if you do these things accordingly. Thank you for letting me share.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all about, when I look at it, it's really maybe when you're getting older, you start looking at maybe what you didn't do earlier with your children, and she could be processing some of those things. She could be a widower that now she's living alone, has not don't have anybody in the house with her. There's a number of different things, but I know a lot of times when I'm in session with a daughter and the mother has transcended that guilt. That whole session is about guilt. I wish I had her. If I'd have known that my mother was going to pass, I would have done things differently. So you don't want to get into that because you can't change it. Once they close that casket, it's over. You can just, that's it. Now you got to process. Now I know I said earlier, sometimes like she said, the parents said, well, one day I'm not going to be here. And my mother used to do that to me. That old guilt trip. One day mother's not going to be here. So one day I challenged her on it. When she said that, I said, okay, mother, one day you won't be here, but guess what? I'm going to see you on the other side. And eventually she stopped saying it because it wasn't getting the reaction that it normally got. I was like, okay, you stop feeling guilty.
Yes.
And as I'm telling you now, when you told me about this situation, you're feeling guilty. The only way you're going to not feel guilty, you got to settle the issue. You got to have the conversation. You got to ask the questions. See, most time we don't want to ask the questions. I don't know, it's because we don't want to hear the answers. It's going to be turbulence on both sides. You're going to feel withdrawal. It's like giving the baby candy and taking it away. And they used to having that candy. And or let's go deeper than that, the bottle, their food. And then they're crying, and you say, no, then this is what's going to happen. It's going to be some resistance. But you got to tell her, mother, I love you. And let me show you what my day is like. Because maybe she don't understand what your day is like. She doesn't realize all the things that you're going through. She just know I'm sitting over here all day and you haven't called me today and you don't love me. It's amazing how the older we get that we convert back to some childish ways. But in the meantime, if you set these boundaries, if you talk to her and have that conversation, that's the good time when you're on that date. That just the two of you. Mom, we're not gonna have any phones. We're just gonna sit here. I've had clients say, well, she won't talk. I said, that's fine. Just sit there because you don't have to talk to feel love. You can just sit in the presence and not say a word. And that love energy will just wrap around you because you cannot separate a child from her mother, a mother from her child. That love is there. And then eventually, once you've done that a couple of weeks, somebody gonna start talking because, like, okay, well, she's consistent. Like Dr. O say, you got to be consistent. If you're consistent, well,
Yeah.
shoot, she came last week and she came the week before. Well, I guess she's serious. Well, baby, how you doing today? And that's when it starts. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Somebody's
yes,
gonna break. Your baby, how you doing?
yes,
Mom, I'm doing fine. But I always tell mothers, Dr. O, is that you just apologize. Just apologize. I had a mother about a couple weeks ago, and she said, and I had to, I don't think she heard me say that because that's the first time I had spoken to her. But she said, I just started apologizing. I just said, baby, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I'm sorry. And I'm asking you to forgive me. She said, I don't know what I was apologizing for, Dr. B. I just went on and just started apologizing. And she said, all of a sudden, we talked for hours behind that apology.
yeah.
Somebody that hadn't spoken in years, had not had a conversation with her daughter in years. And all of a sudden, just that, baby, I'm sorry, open up. It was her daughter's birthday. And she said, I am not going to send her a text on Facebook like I normally do because I know she ain't talking. She's not talking to me. She hasn't spoken to me in years. She ignored me. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to call her. And she called her. And she said, I was not going to send you a text on Facebook. Whether you answered the phone or not, I was just going to call you. And she started apologizing. And they spoke for 6 hours. 6 hours. I was blown away. I was like, what? She said 6 hours. And they emptied all, I won't say all, a big portion of the things that they were carrying around in their intro conversations. I thought you meant this. Well, I thought you did this. And see, you're thinking one way and your mother thinking another. Nobody's sitting down talking about it. Nobody is really saying, this is really how I feel, or this is what I thought, because, well, baby, that's not what I thought. No, you really? Is that the way you felt? And then all of a sudden the egg is cracked and you could scramble it. So, Dr. O, go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to say the four. I want to give her four C's in this situation: clear, consistent, consequential, and compassionate. When she's dealing with her mother, she has to have all those elements in line. And here's the
Mhm.
thing: you said work out your own salvation. You're simply telling her to save herself. Save
Mhm.
yourself, sugar. And if you do this, you're going to have a different perspective about your mom because you would have raised up, you would have elevated to have the courage to create the boundaries so you can have, like Dr. Fletcher said, you got to have time for yourself. You got to have time because if you don't live well, you can't serve well. And if you're stressed out because your mom, if you're allowing your mom to stress you out with her neediness, then you're not going to be good for your family. And you're going to have those moments where you take it out on them. As Dr. Fletcher said, you're going to snap on them because you're just frustrated with not having that proper time, not only for yourself, but everything you have to do for your own family because you're so engrossed and over involved in her life. She's not going to have a life if you don't create these boundaries. I don't know how old she is. She's going to continue to depend on you and not do things for herself as long as you're doing them. And
Yeah.
that's just the naked truth. I don't know
Yeah.
how old your mom is. Maybe you can share that in a later text. But you are gonna have to help your mom save herself from the needing the being so dependent on you that she has robbed herself of a life. Because that's what
Mhm.
happens when you're doing everything for people. They don't have to do anything for themselves. And so those four C's are going to be paramount for your relationship change. If you're not consistent in what it is that you're setting out to do with her, then you're going to be back and forth. And it's just like a child. A child don't respect your time when you give it all to them, and they don't know that there's a time where you have to say no to to their needs in order to meet your own needs. Thanks for letting me share that.
And when I look at this dynamics here, it just popped in my head. What about your daughter and your son? Because really and truly, we don't realize that we're doing these things and saying these things. You talk about grandmama. You talk about, oh, she getting on my nerves. Every time I turn around, mama just calling and calling. But see, you putting words into your children's mind that will make them formulate a picture of their grandmother. My mama said, grandmama this. And have we heard children? Children will repeat what they hear. And so now they have a different perspective of their grandmother. This is not good. It's not good for you to talk like that in front of the children about your mother. You're not realizing you're doing this, but driving in the car, Lord, here come mama calling again. Every time I turn around, mama's calling. And the children are like, grandmama's just something else. Mama just, you know, the mama don't even like grandmama. So now something happened to mama, and then the mama's gone, and the granddaughter grows up. She's gonna treat the grandmama like the mother said the grandmother was, just a pain in the you know what. So I don't have time for grandmama. Mama didn't do it. Why I got to do it? So we got to be careful. These generational curses. That's everybody's thinking about generational curses from years ago. We're creating generational curses every day.
Absolutely.
You're cursing your mother in front of your children. So when you say that your children get irritated, that's what came to my mind when I remember that part of it. My children get irritated. They don't know your mother. They know what you say. You were here with your mother. You had the children. They're raised under your instructions, under your energy. And believe it or not, I don't care what you think, your mother did good. She birthed you into this earth. And you need to find out, Mom, what is it that I can do? What can I do to help you? Because I feel like if we could just get to the root of what's bothering you, are you hurt? Are you sick? Are you fearful? Let's just have a conversation. Let's just have an honest conversation because I love you and I want you to enjoy your best days. And we can do this. We'll set out a plan. I'll call you. You'll have an opportunity to talk. I talk to my daughter every day, every morning. My mother did it with me. It doesn't take but a minute. Just sometimes now, Angie and I talk, talk forever, but you can set that boundary and say, hey, good morning. I'm just checking on to see how you're doing. Oh, I'm doing good, baby. Okay, mom, I'm on my way to work, but you have a good day. And what I said to this young lady is this: you're complaining about your mother, but you don't complain about your girlfriends. You don't complain about being on social media 4 and 5 hours a day. But mama called. Now mama getting on my nerves. Someone that's going to be there when nobody else is. You can post social media all day long, every day, 24 hours a day. But you get sick and in that hospital and see how many people off of social media are going to come to that hospital and visit you. Even your best friends will come for a moment. But you stay there for 6 weeks and see how it breaks off because they then know, oh, I don't have time. Mary, did you see or did you hear about so and so? Yeah, when the last time, girl, I was there about 4 weeks ago, but I ain't had time. See, But your mother, she'll be at that bedside. Your mother will see you take your last breath. So we have to prioritize who's important. You may think she's getting on your nerves, but don't you know you got on her nerves the nights you cried? Don't you know you got on her nerves when she had to sit up all night because you sick? You think she didn't have get tired? Hey, think about all of that and then give her grace. We have to give grace. But you got to ask the question, what is it that I can do? How can we do this? Have the date and then move forward. You have anything last you want to say to that, Dr. Oh,
The only thing I can say is it is important that she expresses her gratitude, but by that same token, you got to save yourself.
yeah.
And saving yourself is simply just you setting those boundaries and walking those boundaries out, those four C's. You got to do that if you want your mother to have a life. She's being robbed of a quality of life because she's not engaged in her own life. You guys are so it sounds as though you guys are so enmeshed in each other's lives that y'all don't know how to separate from each other. And you will never separate from your mother, but you have to have that sacred space where you are not feeling some kind of way because you feeling you have to do things for your mother. You got to want to do things for your mother. You can't, if you feel that you have to do it, you're going to always feel some kind of way. But if you set healthy boundaries, you're going to get to the point where you want to spend that time that Dr. Fletcher is talking about with your mother in a positive way. And you guys start to enjoy your life together instead of regretting, oh God, here come mama calling again. No, set those boundaries, set those dates, and keep those four C's so you can change the dynamic of your relationship in a positive way. Thank you for letting me share, Dr. Fletcher.
Yeah. Something came up was this mother, and I was thinking, should I say this or not? But I think it's okay. I'm not going to say the name, but there was, you know, a young lady that said, my mother wasn't there for me. We have a lot of that in counseling. My mother wasn't there for me. She was out doing her thing. And now that she's older, she's expecting for me to take care of her. Now, that was not a part of this young lady's conversation with me, but um, that's a lot of the driving force behind I don't want to take care of her because she wasn't there for me. But this is a story that a young lady told me. She said, she has a stepdaughter, and she was sick, and the stepdaughter was taking care of her. The husband was sick. The stepdaughter was taking care of her and the husband, and she has a couple babies. And her biological mom, who she's talking with, have a conversation with, didn't really raise her. So the biological mom was talking to her and said, well, you're doing all that for her. Then what about me? Why can't you come over here and take care of me? And so the daughter said to her, oh, because she was there when I needed my diapers changed. And she was there when I couldn't feed myself. And she was there when I scraped my knees or fell or had a problem. She was there and you wasn't. So that's why I do that for her. So sometimes I tell mothers, I said, you have to put in, you have to give the love. You better make some deposits because it's hard for people to come up with that godly love unless you're a Christian. You have to fight to come up with it because you want to say you wasn't there for me. So if that's the case, we have to forgive. That's what forgiveness is. Because if you don't forgive her, God won't forgive you.
Did you know
I'll be right
that
back.
those college credits you earn can still work for you? If you started your degree but never finished, don't let those credits go to waste. At Mother and Daughter Bible University, you can turn your hard work into a completed degree. Whether you're aiming for an associate, bachelor's, master's, or even a PhD, we make it easy to transfer your credits and fast-track your education. Imagine celebrating your graduation, knowing you've achieved your dreams while balancing work and life. Don't wait any longer. Take the first step towards your future today. Visit our website and start your journey now.
Yes. Start your journey with us. Finish that college degree. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll be right back with you, Dr. O. Thank you for being a part of the show. I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
All right, I just want to wrap this up with, of course, the Word of God. It says here that recognize and release. So you got to recognize what you're doing and you got to release it. So God is saying, cast your care on the Lord and he will sustain you. See, you're trying to do it in your own might. You're trying to figure out how am I going to do this with my mother? What am I going to do? You got to care. The Lord said, cast your care. You just cast the care. You know what, Lord, I can't handle this. I can't do this, Holy Spirit. I need some help. Because obviously we're not communicating well together. And just wait. God, he'll show you. He'll speak to you. Redefine honor. And Dr. O talked about boundaries. See, honor is the thing that is required of us. Honor your mother and your father. That's a law. That's mandatory. And when you're out of order with that, I don't care what your mother says or does, you got to treat her with honor. Because if you're out of order, then you're going to be in big trouble. And then that's in Ephesians 6, 2 and 3. Read that and then go back to Psalms 55:22 when you're talking about, casting your cares. And then allow God to fill you, with love. Because if you can get into divine love, there's no room of aggravation or disgust. Divine love will soften your heart. And when your mother called, you should say, you know what? Oh, there's my mother. Thank God. She's still breathing. She's still here. Thank you, God, for my mother. We're going to have a show um, in a couple weeks or so. I was talking to Dr. Richie Roche. I'm sorry, Dr. Roche. And we were talking about adults who are still grieving about their mother. They're still grieving, 50, 60 years old. And we're going to bring that out because that's a release. A lot of stuff we got to forgive, a lot of stuff we got to let go, and that's a show that you don't want to miss. But right now, you got to let this go. You got to honor her. And like she said, if I could have um, one day with my mother, just one day with my mother, and I feel the same way. If I could just have one day, I don't know what I do in that day, but I know one thing. I would really enjoy the day and I would say some things that I know I probably should have said because we all got that once they're gone, things that I wish I could or should have done. Let me tell you. So you have your mother with you, you cherish this day and know that God will give you grace to deal with it. But you can't deal with it when you don't know what it is. You got to ask the question. All right, Dr. O, this
Yes,
is it. This is
ma'am.
our final. I made sure because I said we are going to get off here in an hour. So thank you very much. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
you. Couldn't do it
Yes, ma'am.
without you. And to the young lady, we said God's blessings. And then I want you to, and of course, she's going to call me and we're going to talk further in it. And if necessary, I might bring you on to a phone conversation because
Sounds
that's
good.
what we do.
I'm here.
We do that. All
Absolutely.
right.
I'm here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Love
Have a
you
good
guys.
Would like to
All
ask
right. I'll
Dr.
be right
Bessie
back.
a question about your mother and daughter relationship? Go to contact at matriarchnow.com. That's matriarchnow.com. May the Lord bless your mother and daughter relationship. Blessings. The Mother and Daughter Roundtable is brought to you by Mother and Daughter Faith Trust Ministries. If you'd like to make a donation, visit matriarchnow.com.
All right, that's our show. We'll see you next week. Unspoken. You
Thank
don't want
you.
to miss it. Bye bye. God
Bye.
bless you.